Good morning, Facebook friends. Back again for another Monday 5 Live segment. Hope you're all well. Hope you had a great weekend. Things are kind of back to normal in our household. Kids are back at school. So hopefully we get into, I can get into a good work week this week. It's always a bit challenging when the kids are at home. Today we are talking about age excuse-itis doesn't exist in the blue zones. So firstly, let's talk about what age excuse-itis is. And I'm pretty sure you can figure that out by the name. So when we're talking about age excuse-itis, in this case, we're talking about to do with our health. Okay, we're not talking about anything other than health at the moment. Okay, so age excuse-itis is something that's very common. And it's basically where people make excuses for their poor health because of their age. So some examples might be, I'm getting fatter because I'm getting older, or middle-age spread is just a part of getting older. Another one might be something like, I'm in my 50s now and I don't have the same energy that I used to have. Another one might be, I've got an autoimmune condition, but I guess that's just part of getting older. So I just want to be clear here. Of course, it's a natural part of the aging process that we start to slow down as we get older. That's natural. You can't expect someone in their 80s to have the same energy as someone in their 30s. That's not realistic. But the problem is that people are starting to accept poor health at a relatively young age, and they're blaming it on their age. Okay, so what this does is, I believe, it actually lets you off the hook from taking responsibility for your health. That's what I think age excuse-itis does. So you start blaming your health issues, even if you're relatively young, like in your 40s or 50s, you start blaming your health issues on your age. And what that does is it absolves your responsibility to get your health under control. Okay, this is a really big problem. And this is why I want to talk about it. Okay, so another example, so when I talk about absolving yourself of responsibility, an example of that might be someone in their 60s complaining about the fact that they've got a heart problem, and they go, oh, I can't do that because I've got a heart problem. And they say, oh, but that's normal because I'm getting older. And what that does is it lets them off the hook from actually sorting out their lifestyle and fixing the heart issue. Okay, this is happening around us a lot. Again, we've got to make the difference between common and normal. I talk about this a lot. Just because everyone else around you is sick and unhealthy and tired and overwhelmed, yes, it's common. There's a lot of people in their 40s and 50s and 60s who are really unwell. That's really common, but it's not normal. We've got to make the difference between common and normal. Okay, so that's what age excuse-itis is, okay? Making excuses for your poor health because of your age. Now, I want to tell you about a few regions around the world, which I find absolutely fascinating. I just love this subject so much. And they're called the blue zones, okay? So the blue zones are a series of 5 populations around the world where there is a higher than average life expectancy. So there's more nonagenarians and centenarians, that's people who live into their 90s and into over the age of 100. There are more nonagenarians and centenarians than there is in the rest of the general population around the world. Okay, so these 5 areas are Okinawa in Japan, which is a little island down the bottom of Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Nicoya in Costa Rica, Icaria in Greece, and Loma Linda in California. So the reason that these areas are named blue zones is that when the researchers started looking into why these populations were living longer than normal or longer than the rest of the world, they circled the areas with a blue pen on a map, and that's why they're called the blue zones. It's a really fascinating study, And I recommend that if you're into the subject of longevity and living a great life and living a life with great health, I really recommend that you go and look into it. It's something that fascinates me. And the reason I'm talking about this today is I'm actually writing a little segment in my second book about this because I think it's really fascinating. So what they did is they undertook a study in these 5 areas to figure out why it was that there were so many people living into their 90s and over the age of 100. And they found some commonalities, and these are the things that they found. So these people ate mostly a plant-based diet. The intake of meat and fish was very low, and so they really only ate meat or fish on special occasions. And they eat fewer calories overall. So these people aren't going and stuffing themselves silly. They're just really moderate with their calorie intake. They don't smoke, and they have a very moderate intake of alcohol. Well, actually, no, not even moderate, very little, like pretty much non-existent. They have healthy social connections with their friends and their family and their community. They have a strong sense of purpose. So they've got sort of got a reason for, or they find their reason for life, and they sort of find their meaning for living a good life. They get moderate regular exercise through things like gardening, cooking, walking, doing everyday chores. They're not inside the gym pummeling themselves. They're not doing that. They're just getting incremental exercise every day. And they get plenty of sleep, and often they'll have a daytime nap. And many of them are part of a religious community. So the interesting thing about these little pockets around the world is that unlike the rest of the westernized population, or actually the global population, men are not having shorter lifespans than women. So men are actually living to the same age as what women do. Generally, men have a slightly lower lifespan. These populations have about half the rates of chronic disease compared to the rest of the world, the rest of the westernized world. They've got much fewer cases of dementia, and often they live in somewhat remote areas, so they've got quite limited access to healthcare. So basically what they're doing is they are following our formula for great health, which is concentrating on nutrition, exercise, gut health, sleep. And I'm sure as part of that, part of their whole lifestyle, they're really careful with how much stress that they are allowing into their lives. And of course, everybody's got stress, but they have a particular way of dealing with stress and keeping it under control. Thanks for tuning in, Angela or Craig. Angela and Craig, maybe. Okay, so what's happening in these 5 populations in the blue zones is that people are not falling over with chronically bad health in middle age, and they're not blaming their age for their health. They're getting on with it. They're taking care of themselves. They're thinking about what they're doing in their everyday life when it comes to their health, and they are living really long and healthy and prosperous lives, unlike a lot of the westernized world. So if you find yourself one of these people who think, I'm getting these aches and pains, or I'm getting this autoimmune condition, or I'm not as energetic as I used to be, and you're starting to blame your age on these things, stop for a moment and think about, is that really the case? Is it my age? Or am I just not taking responsibility for my health? Okay. Got to think about that, because as I said, it's very common for people to do this. You go and have a conversation with someone who's in their 50s, and they'll tell you all their aches and pains and problems, and all the reasons they can't do things. Happens around us all the time. But I think that really takes the responsibility off the individual to really take control of their health, and I think that that's very disempowering. I think our conventional medical system has a lot to do with that as well, because they tell us that our genes are to blame, or that we need medication to fix our problems. Neither of those things are true. What's true is that when you start taking control of your health, you can reverse your existing health conditions for the most part, and you can live a long and healthy life. It's normal now for humans to live into their 80s and 90s and beyond. But why isn't that happening? Why are so many people dying prematurely? It's because they're starting to accept that health problems are part of aging and it's normal. It's not normal. It's common. It's not normal. Okay. Hey, Maria. Marie. Hi, Marie. So I think that's worth thinking about, you know, if you are someone who is tempted to blame your age for all the reasons you can't do things, just take a step back for a moment and think, is it really my age, or is it just me making an excuse? And age excuseitis is a real thing. Go and have a look at the blue zones. Go into Google and look it up. It's such a fascinating phenomenon. Really, really interesting that there's these 5 separate areas around the world where people are living so much longer than what the rest of the general population is. I'm going to leave it there for today. This one's nice and short and sweet. But I want to leave you with a really great quote, which is, aging is inevitable, but getting old is an option. And I actually came across that this morning on Instagram. I got up early this morning and I was just kind of thinking about what I was going to talk about today. And I thought, this is the subject for today, age excuseitis and blue zones. And then I went onto Instagram, and a lady that I follow regularly, she actually put this quote up, and I thought that is absolutely perfect for today. So aging is inevitable, getting old is an option. So I'll leave that with you. Hope you guys all have a great day. We'll catch you same place, same time next week. Bye.